stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Welcome to the best night of the week. It's Soul Wanderings night. Soul Wanderings is a show about journey stories, and we are hanging out here on the best in alternative talk radio, KGRA Radio, and it's heard throughout our universe every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, and each week we get to wander with a new guest about their authentic experiences through this human journey, and it's so fantastic to have you here with us for another live show tonight. So hello, friends. I am AJ Rasmussen, and I am an owner and manager of a heart-centered healing space. And every day I get to assist others in their healing journeys. I also have this amazing opportunity to be your host of Soul Wanderings. For those of you who are new here, or just as a reminder to those who are not, I hang out in the chat room during the show, and it's a great place for you to be. Especially if you find yourself with a question for our guest. I try to grab as many as I possibly can. So make sure you guys head over to kgraradio.com/chat and ask away. Ask any of those questions you may have for our guest. And I'm pretty sure you're going to have them tonight. So I hope to find you there with myself and all of the other wanderers. All right, everyone, let's begin to wander. Let's just jump right in, shall we? As a global thought leader, international speaker, spiritual mentor, and a #1 best-selling author, our guest has a unique gift to identify and eradicate the unconscious programs that undermine success, instantly amplifying her clients' ability to live freely and thrive. Jack Canfield has stated, "She is a profound healer, trainer, speaker, and author who does some incredible transformational work. I've experienced her work and found it truly life-changing. So much so, I had her work with my entire staff with magical results. She has an amazing ability to shift energy and remove unconscious blocks on very deep levels. Her unconditional love, joy, and radiance fills the room. She is the real deal, and I highly recommend her and her work." I am so excited, you guys. I'd like to welcome to the show our guest, Sandra Biskind. Hello.
Hi, how are you? It's wonderful to be here with you, AJ.
I am delighted to have you here. I had to do some work to get you here. You're a very busy lady, so I appreciate your time for spending your evening with us. This is really exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, life can kind of run away with us, can't it?
It definitely can. And where you fill your plate doing the things that you love, it's definitely easy to get lost in all of that and take the time to set aside to do all of these other things. So again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So here on Soul Wanderings, as I stated, it's a show about journey stories. We really like to hear who you are as a person and your journey, which led you to this place you are now. So we like to hear some things about you and how you became the person you are today. So we'd love to hear you share some things about yourself.
Okay. I think probably I definitely would start the moment that I started having visitations from divine beings. And I was 3 And I remember going to my mama when I was 4 and saying to her, you know, Mummy, what does Jesus talk to you about when you go to bed at night? And she looked at me with like this shocked look on her face, because we were not in a religious family at all. And she said, well, what does he talk to you about? And from then on, it felt like I was really connecting or tapped in to this beautiful, unconditional, loving energy. And at 14, I had experiences where I saw my grandfather, who had just passed away. I saw him standing in the room, waving to me, smiling, and his body was in the coffin. And I'm thinking, well, where are you? And when I saw him, I kind of sighed with relief and went, oh, there you are. And when I was 18, I think, you know, we all have experiences where our lives course correct, where you think you're going in this direction, and all of a sudden you find yourself going in a very different direction. And that happened to me at 18. My right ovary burst and I almost died. And, you know, during that experience, rather than feeling fear and anxiety, which you would think would be happening, I went into the most magical, mystical place. And it was only after that event that I realized that was when I had my first awakening or enlightenment experience. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was phenomenal. But when I woke up out of that surgery and I was in that trashed out, painful body, I was definitely not in that place anymore. I was really angry, thinking, hang on, I shouldn't even be here. What's going on? What's all this pain? And but something happened to me during that time where my psychic abilities were elevated or expanded. And I knew, for instance, that my mother was going to die, and I begged my beautiful 41-year-old mother not to have the surgery she was booked in for. And 2 months later, she went in to have a routine hysterectomy, and she was given 18 pints of the wrong blood group blood, and she bled out and died. And, you know, I was watching all of this happen, and it was just a phenomenal nightmare. And again, talk about course correcting. Like 2 months before, I knew that I had lost the ability to ever have children. 2 months later, I lost my mother, and I left school and went in to help my father take over his business. And then with 2 years, I had helped him sell the business. I had another life-threatening surgery, and I married a man at the age of 20 who was 10 years older than me. And then I couldn't get a job. So I ended up deciding to open my own fashion boutique. And 7 years later, having, you know, a chain of boutiques, my own home, you know, cars, cats, dogs, the whole wonderful thing, I left everything because I got up the courage to leave what had become an emotionally abusive marriage. And, you know, I knew I was in trouble. I mean, I don't know how many people are out there where you've just been in a situation where you're going, wow, I think I'm at my lowest possible ebb. Like, we were having a financial crisis in my town, so my business wasn't doing well. I still had failing health. I was in an enormous amount of emotional pain, and I felt lost and alone. So if you've ever felt like that, it's like, wow, what's next? And you know what? That's when I discovered meditation, and my life course corrected again, because this time I learned how to master my frequency, which was a really important thing, because I was showing up in my business with all of these emotions running my life, and I had no idea, no awareness of how I was affecting everyone around me. And so I was completely oblivious to this. And that's when I realized that I had to be able to be in control of my emotions, not my emotions in control of me, which meant that I had to train my mind. And so I have been on this incredible journey of delving deeply into all things spiritual and personal development for decades. And I met my husband 20 years ago, this incredible American man who was living in New Zealand at the time. And there's loads of fun stories around that meeting that are in Codebreaker, the book. And from that moment forward, we just, you know, he became my spiritual rock. And the two of us were able to create a system that we believe is our legacy work that we're leaving to the world in the form of Codebreaker, Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You, and the journal that goes with it. Because this is a very inexpensive way for people around the world to work with us and work through their lowest points, whatever they might be, and to actually come out the other side with these beautiful tools and techniques that just shift their frequency, shift their mindset and their emotions instantly. But kind of that's in it in a nutshell. I mean, it's a very brief, but then when you get to 66, it needs to be brief, right? Because there's a lot that goes on.
Well, right. Is this as substantial as your journey was, it definitely led you to where you are now. I'm a believer in those things lead us to our true paths, those things that aren't so, wonderful, a little heavy and traumatic in some ways. But with you being able to have those experiences, it has put you on this platform to assist so many other people.
Exactly. And truly, I've had so many clairvoyants and so many people come up to me and say, oh, you realize why you have been through so much devastation and so many challenges, because you really did come here with a mission and purpose to help end suffering. And how could you do that unless you had empathy and understood, what people are going through? And that made perfect sense to me. And I actually got my brother and my sister together, and I thanked them for the trauma and the grief that they'd gone through in their way, because they went through other things. And obviously, if I had to go through all of it on my own, I simply wouldn't have survived it. But having them go through it and me being able to assist them and see the grief and see the pain they were going through, it was kind of like there's not much of a human experience you can talk about that between the three of us we haven't experienced.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been through quite a bit of, I don't like to say trauma, but the things that you experienced were traumatic in that time for you.
They were, and they actually brought up a lot of grief and sadness. But luckily, as I got older, from 27 on, once I discovered meditation, and I was very lucky in that I found a very strong spiritual mentor at that stage, and she invited me into the Geelong Christian Spiritual Church, where, we were expected to meditate, to heal each other, to channel, to give each other divine guidance. And because we were expected to do that, it was normal for them. And I'm sitting in there going, wow, I think I've just found my home. I've just found my soul tribe. And it was her influence. She was my mentor for 40 years. And she only just kind of passed into spirit 2 years ago. And she would slap me around, and if I was doing something wonderful in the world, like, for instance, I would get onto the pulpit at the church and read 50 flowers and give the people readings, and they'd come up to me and go, how did you know that? That's exactly what I'm going through. Thank you so much. And she would come up to me and she would say, don't you think you did that? You didn't do that. And I'd be going, I know it wasn't me. And she actually kept everything very grounded. She understood that it was very important when you're on this spiritual path, when you're getting divine guidance and you're able to help people on this deep and meaningful level, that you stay very much out of the ego, that you stay very much in this neutral, still place where you understand that this is a gift and it's an honor to be able to serve and to help people.
It's so important through my own personal journey to remind myself as well to stay out of the ego, because there's so much more work that can be done when you realize that spirit isn't working next to you necessarily, but through you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, Spirit's working through everyone all of the time. It's just, are you open to it? And I guess that's another reason why Daniel and I, spent decades and then 5 years writing Codebreaker in the journal, was because people don't realize that they have this incredible opportunity and these incredible gifts within them to actually tap into a divine source where they get the answers to their most challenging moments. And, everyone is their own guru. Everyone is their own master. And to me, that's so important for people to understand.
So when people are beginning their journey, if you will, you were down to your low point and you came across your spiritual mentor. Not everyone is that fortunate to find someone that also they get to spend 40 years with. But what would be some great advice to someone who was at that point and was looking for a way to find that healing? If they're not familiar with the meditation or...
Yeah, well, for a start, I would say start reading. Read books like Codebreaker. There are a lot of incredibly powerful books out there right now. And because there's so much information being disseminated on the planet, if it were me and I was their mentor, I'd give them Codebreaker and I'd say, here, listen to this, read this, do the exercises and do the meditations. I would get people into a mindful meditation state. So it's in that state where they can actually just stop, take a deep breath and go, okay, I really can trust that I am safe now. And, really get them into this place. The reason why we wrote Codebreaker was so that this book and this system could be your mentor. And, there's a password and the acronym for the password is platinum. Can you imagine if you really didn't know anything about spirituality, but you were simply confronted with the fact that peace is your natural state when you're not suffering, that love is who we are, that awareness of other people, like not being oblivious to how you are showing up is so important, that trust is what counteracts worry and anxiety, that being in integrity and finding that wholeness of body, mind and soul and, knowing what is right and having the courage to follow through, and being able to become neutral and trigger-free so that you're no longer being triggered into these knee-jerk reactions, and then feeling a unity and oneness with all life and becoming mindful of what you're going on. I mean, these are very simple, beautiful words, but these words convey a very high-frequency state of being. Mm-hmm. And when you start to work with them, your whole beingness changes. So I would really say, look, one of the reasons why we created this system in this book was so that people could have a mentor, and a mentor that is not going to die on them, is not going to croak, a mentor that's going to always be there in the form of this system. And there are so many fabulous people like Jack Canfield, his books, his success principles, and we name quite a few books in Codebreaker that we have drawn from that back up this system on a scientific level. But, of course, if I didn't know anything about spirituality, I would be reading these books first because they give us scientific proof of these things that might feel a bit way out. Like when we say, hey, listen, you've got information that's locked in your DNA, and that information is locked into your unconscious, and your unconscious is driving you 95% of the time. So therefore, it's the hidden programs, beliefs, and ideas that are running your business. It's what you don't know that is running your business. When you say something like that, people go, what? But when you read the science behind it, you go, oh, I get it. We've got information that's been passed down from our ancestors. We've been conditioned, from when we were in the womb. I mean, okay, I'm going a bit far to say, oh, wow, past life, but there's thousands and thousands of scientific research about past lives as well. So as our soul wanders through lifetime after lifetime, we're accruing information that is now in the unconscious, and we don't even know it's there. So, I'm sure people have heard of the law of attraction, but what would happen if you decided that you wanted to, for instance, attract the love of your life, and you put the photo on the board and you look at it and you go, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And your unconscious mind is saying, who do you think you are? You're not beautiful enough. You're not smart enough. No one will ever love you. And when those unconscious programs are speaking in the background where you can't hear them, they will sabotage your ability to attract into your life the part of your dreams. And that's why this work is so important. The faster we can get clear of these sabotage ideas, beliefs, programs, stories, the sooner we can start living as the best version of who we are, as a very high-frequency divine being, and really attract into our lives the experiences that we've come here to have, which is love, joy, abundance, more. I'd say more love, more joy, more fun, more money, more.
Just more in general, more of the feel-good stuff, the stuff that we were meant to experience here in this lifetime.
Exactly. It's when you're a baby, that's what you're expecting. You're fed, you're loved, you smile, and then you expect that to keep going. And then all of a sudden, there's programs drop in, the conditioning drops in, the conditioning of your parents drop in, and all of their parents, and all of a sudden you're going, oh, this doesn't feel as good as I thought it would. What am I doing here?
There are so many people who are on autopilot, if you will, throughout life and don't even understand the unconscious behavior or even their conscious behavior and how it affects them on the daily. But then there are those who will have some experience in their life that kind of shakes them awake a little bit, at least enough to know that there is a deeper experience that's happening for them. There's some people who are like, I don't need to be here. I don't know why I'm here. I just kind of happened into this group, but they don't understand like the deep unconscious behavior that's going on, the underlying issues.
Exactly. You've just hit the nail on the head perfectly. Yeah, people, often we say and do things and we think, where did that come from? Why did I do that? On a negative level. And then there's sometimes where you find yourself somewhere and you think, wow, I think my soul got me here. It's like, wow, I can feel that this is how I want to live. This is how I want to show up. And unfortunately, the unconscious is usually part of the sabotage. And that's why when you read Codebreaker, there's one of the chapters is called Neutrality, of course, because N is neutrality is the N in platinum. And when you go to that chapter, it's chapter 6, we actually tell you step by step how to correct out of the unconscious those programs so that you can become neutral and free. And neutrality is a big word. I think another word for neutrality is enlightenment. It's when you can become this beautiful, silent observer of what is without getting upset about it, without needing to go into judgment, without going down into this low frequency place that doesn't serve you on any level. So being able to stay, again, rather than being trigger happy, trigger free is so important for all of us. Because, people, whether they do it deliberately or not, events and things happen that they trigger off a program and then off we go, spiraling into a place that we really don't want to be in.
And it can happen so easily. It happens just like at the snap of a finger. Exactly. And we don't always know why.
Yeah. The funny thing was that when I first met Daniel, this is so silly, but it's an example of what we're talking about. He would leave his cups and glasses out on the top of the bench on top of the dishwasher. And I would come into the kitchen and go, hang on a minute. Why can't the dishwasher's right there, just open it up and put it in. Why are you just leaving it there? And I found myself being really triggered. And he was this man that I really loved. And I'm ready to go to war over the damn dishes, right? And I'm thinking, this is really stupid. What's going on here? Like I can pick up that cup and put it in the dishwasher even if he doesn't. But there was something that really irked me about it. And when I went back, I realized that I did have a story running, and that when I was from 12 onwards, and I had a 16-year-old sister, my parents made us do the dishes together every night. And honestly, I hated doing the dishes with my sister. We fought over who was going to wash and who was going to dry. There was no such thing as dishwasher then. And And then we want to go to the toilet and we'd be holding on. And I mean, honestly, it was not a good look. And what happened was when I would see these dishes, it triggered off my 12-year-old and 14-year-old going, oh, I don't want to do this. And once I realized that, I could clear it out. I could, really talk to that 12-year-old and say, hey, baby, it's okay. This is not it. And then I could just go back to loving my husband without getting upset. And, it's the little things in a relationship that upset us that grow into big things and end relationships. And that's why it's very important, whether it's with your partner or your family or your friends, that you don't allow these triggers to go without inquiry, to inquire into what it is that happened. It's not what they said or did that's the problem. It's our reaction to it.
Right. Definitely. I would like to talk more about triggers and how we can be aware of what our triggers are, like finding those triggers. But we are going to take a quick break. We are Soul Wandering with Sandra Biskind this evening. And of course, we're just getting started. So stay close and we'll be right back.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Feeling sluggish? Bloated, gassy, and, want some relief? Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Our unique blend of all natural herbs go to work on your digestive tract, giving you So before you try our super strength formula. It does a great job removing intruders that jack you up. Thousands of people use Life Change Tea every month, so try it because you're gonna love the way you feel. And here's a little pick-me-up. Order now and receive 10% off your first order by entering in 10 today in the coupon code. That's 10 today in the coupon code. Go to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Enter 10 today in the coupon code for your 10% discount. Wow, feeling good never felt so good. Get some tea love at getthetea.com. Changing America one tea bag at a time.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, hosted here on the amazing KGRAradio.com. We are here wandering with our guest, Sandra Biskind, this evening. And just before the break, she brought up the topic of triggers, how we can have something so minimal trigger us and explode into something much bigger than it needs to be. So I have a question for you, Sandra. With the triggers, everyone has them, whether they're little or big or whatever that looks like. How do we recognize that what we are experiencing is a trigger for us, and how do we rewrite that experience, if you will?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's very, very easy to know when you're triggered, you don't feel good. So if you're feeling fear, negativity, or pain on any level, it's emotional, physical, mental, or whatever, you know that you have been triggered. So we know when something's been triggered because we don't feel good. And then the idea is, using the system in Codebreaker, you would go into ask yourself powerful questions. And we've given people the 4 questions, which are questions to use. So that, let's say you don't feel good about something and you want to change that instantly. You don't want to stay where you are. You know that you're in a low frequency state. You know your ego mind is being triggered off, and that you want to move into a higher place. You know, you want your soul to actually hunker in and nestle into your heart center rather than being driven by the mind. And so if you ask yourself those 4 questions, you'll find out exactly what you need to know about what you're thinking, why you're thinking it, and how you can change that. Would you like me to give you the 4 questions?
That would be great. Yes, please.
Okay. So the 4 questions are, what am I feeling? What am I focused on? What do I want to feel? And what focus will serve that? Now, in the book, throughout the whole of the 8 chapters of Platinum, those 4 questions come up in that system in every chapter. They're that important. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're so important is because when you change your focus, you change your frequency. When you change your frequency, you change your life and your world. That's why, we've used these questions and taught them to thousands of people around the world. And people have used them to change their business, to attract more money, to absolutely just from one moment to the next feel better. I mean, if you were really, really, we just did a 3-day live event in the USA. We've got another one coming up in Melbourne soon. During the day, we go to the corrections where I correct out, where I delve into your unconscious as a psychic. I pull out the information about your core event, emotion, and decisions that you've made that are sabotaging you now and making you susceptible to triggers, and we completely neutralize and delete them. So they no longer have any force to control you. Mm-hmm. And one of those 3 days, we don't do a correction. I actually just use the 4 questions to correct out the triggers. So that's how powerful they are. The idea is with Codebreaker in the journal is that you become your own guru. You're the master, and you have sovereignty over your mind and your emotions and your life. And this system actually helps you align with that, which is very, very important. Does that answer that about the triggers?
Yes.
You don't feel good?
Definitely.
You're being triggered. Yeah. And we all know, we all know. The minute you want to blurt something out that's going to hurt another person or hurt yourself, you've been triggered. The minute you go into blame, complain, or justify, you've been triggered. The minute you no longer are prepared to take radical personal responsibility, the minute you abdicate that role of being the director, producer, the star of your own life, and you project onto other people that they are to blame for how you're feeling, you have been triggered. Mm-hmm. And these are just basic, beautiful things. In fact, AJ, something really exciting. We're just putting together a free 5-day challenge for the end of October, and we're going to go through all of these success principles, we call them success principles, during the challenge, which is talking about, taking radical personal responsibility, not going into complaining and blaming, not having a victim mentality, keeping your mouth shut, absolutely. Like there'll be so many fun things, and your listeners will be able to go through it as though they're going through the book, and I'll be actually giving corrections and transmissions of this divine energy that we use to activate beautiful, beautiful state of being on those calls. So that's going to be exciting. And that too, at the end of those 5 days, you'll find that you're being triggered less and less and less.
It sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful way to work with us. I mean, it's free, and one of the ideas for us is that we obviously get together groups of people from all around the world. Can you imagine if you and your listeners and me and, the people that work with me and then the people who work with them all go through something where we change our perspective, where we change our frequency? What happens? We're actually having a positive impact on the planet, and we're starting to counteract and counterbalance the negativity, the fear, and the judgments. And that is a huge, huge, beautiful thing for us to know that we're doing. We're becoming this powerful force for good on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And the whole collective, if we all are working together, the vibration and the energy in our universe would be incredible. It would be absolutely profound. You brought up earlier a chapter on neutrality. So I'm curious, because that is a chapter, an actual chapter, what kind of research and life experience occurred for you to help develop that neutrality concept?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot. It was decades, actually, of working with spiritual masters around the world. It was learning different systems from other people that we were able to adapt and expand. The most important part was when we read some research done by Russian scientists who they were doing research into the nature of DNA. And the Western science was saying at the time that we have 99% junk DNA, which, of course, when you hear that now, you think, hang on a minute, how could anything about our bodies be junk, especially our information center? I mean, the only junk in our information center is what we put in. So they did a lot of research, and they discovered that 99% of the DNA actually responded to frequency and language. And we were able to find the right language and come from the exact right frequency where we could affect the information in the DNA. In other words, we could speak to that part and unravel what was held in there so we could reprogram it. So that, and whilst we were doing that, people just became free. They no longer felt I had a client in here just before this interview, and she was dealing with a lot of things around betrayal. And she said she was like a 10 out of 10, feeling really bad about betrayal. And by the time we had finished and I had worked with this part of the DNA, with the quantum neutrality process, she said, oh, I can't even find that emotion anymore. It's not there. The fact that her mother left her when she was 3 and the men in her life had betrayed her and left her, right now she was sitting there and she couldn't feel any of the emotion around that at all. She was in neutrality, right? She was in that beautiful, neutral, still point. And there's another way to get to it, and that's to just take a few deep breaths. When you get to the top of the breath and you hold it, there's no emotion, no thoughts, just neutral still point, and then just let it go. So for even a second, you can come to that place of neutrality just by taking a deep breath and holding it and understanding that there's just nothing there. There's this beautiful peace, which is our natural state.
So I've been following you for quite some time, and I've seen on some of your interviews or videos that you talk a lot about meditation and the breath and connecting to the breath. You've made, during meditations, you take a deep breath in and you actually hold it for a while before you release it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than a lot of other people that I'm familiar with around my circle. So what is the purpose of actually holding your breath? Why do you do that?
Yeah.
Why do you do that versus breathe in, breathe out?
So actually the majority of the time, and a lot of my meditations simply are normal, easy breathing, right? However, I do some 2-minute and 1-minute breath meditations where we do hold it. And the reason why we hold it is just simply to allow you to sit there with no thoughts or emotions just for that second and then just let it go. Because you're focused on holding your breath. You're not focused on what's ever been triggering you or what's going wrong in your life in that moment. So in other words, we've just tricked the mind for that second. You're now focused on your breath. You're not focused on something else. And that's why I like it. I don't like being told to hold my breath for 6 and let it go for 4 and let it go for 6. And, all of that, I don't like it because it doesn't suit my natural rhythm of breathing. And that's why I just came to the conclusion that we say to people, in your own time, you take a deep breath, you hold it. That's your neutral still point, and you let it go. So we're not saying you have to hold it for any amount of time.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's very different from what a lot of breath work is. They're making you hold something to something. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I'm sure it works and it's great, but it's just that's not what I love about meditation. Meditation for me is normally that free flow form where I drop in to my true self and into my heart center and actually come into this very high, beautiful, neutral state. And mind you, that's taken decades to get to that place.
It makes a lot of sense to me. And actually the first time that I had heard you do that, it came to me more easily than other meditations I had done because it was at my own pace. I was holding my breath until I felt comfortable in releasing, not when I was told otherwise. Exactly.
I mean, you think about it. Each one of us has this unique divine body with its own rhythm, its own way of being, its own thought process. And to actually force it into a way that isn't its normal, I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But having said that, I'm not putting down breath work because I know that, you can get some really great benefits from it and a lot of people love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not.
It is. I mean, it's not for everyone, but yes, I agree. Definitely. And I can see how that would also bring you to a place of neutrality as well.
Yes. It's just, it's a beautiful point. I mean, coming to neutrality is very interesting. It's like when you change your perspective about something, when you're not attached. See, when we're attached to a story, we can't be neutral. Because we want to go to war over it, we want to be right. Human beings are brought up to be. You have to be right. If you're wrong, it's almost like if someone's wrong, we're going to get punished. There's this unconscious thought, and I've got to actually correct that out during that challenge. By the way, now that we've brought that up, doesn't it make sense that why people are so attached to being right because they're afraid of being wrong? Mm-hmm. So that fear of being punished when you're wrong is so powerful that we stand up for what is right and we'll go to war over it. Imagine if you actually didn't have to be right. If it was okay to be curious, if it was okay to understand somebody else's point of view, if it was okay, I mean, you don't hear this on the news, you don't hear any of what we're talking about, but imagine if there was a curiosity level and a level of, not resistance, it's the opposite of resistance. What is it? Where you can just let go. And
surrender.
Surrender. Thank you. You got the word I was looking for. It's like being able to surrender to what is without making it into a story and a drama. That's another way of becoming neutral, like training yourself.
Yeah, and it becomes a practice.
It is a practice.
And it becomes easier and easier, just like with any other, for lack of a better word, habit that you would practice, it would become easier. as time goes on.
And, you know, you have to look, the whole Codebreaker book is a mind training system where you are breaking habits and reprogramming and rebuilding a whole new system that serves you rather than brings you down. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to do the work. You know, you can't read the book or listen to it without actually doing the process. Otherwise, it really, you know, it may make some superficial changes, but for people who want real change in their life, who are determined that they are going to live as the best version of who they are, and for the people who know that they are a perfect divine being and the only thing stopping them from living that are those unconscious programs, then like me, it's important that we do what it takes to live as that being.
Yeah, I have an employee who had a question I want to make sure that I ask you. How do you feel that the repetitive and learned thought patterns affect your soul?
Repetition, did you say?
Yes.
Repetitive
thinking and learned thought patterns. How do they affect your soul?
On every level, they affect the soul because they're either they're repetitive thought patterns that are either negative, painful, challenging, or they're either negative thought patterns that you program in that are uplifting and support life. So if the repetitive thought patterns, and you know, a lot of people are on this hamster wheel of negative thought processes, it diminishes the soul. It diminishes our frequency. It confuses the soul. And you know, that's not a place you want to be in because that opens you up to depression, to sickness, sadness, all sorts of things. Yeah. So that was a great question from that person.
Yes, Amanda. Give a shout out to her. She's covering my shop while I do my show every week. So
yeah, Amanda, great question, because that's why, by the way, that when we correct out the unconscious programs that you know do destroy life, we reprogram the brain, the processing unit, by saying, I trust it's safe for me to, you know, to love. I trust it's safe for me to make money. I trust it's safe. So that now the repetitive program is a completely different divine, I call it a divine soul karmic agreement. So we're changing karmic agreements by changing our repetitive thought processes.
Many times, so many of us have heard through our own development that our words are powerful, and the words we say to ourselves can literally alter the way we feel and even our reality. And
without doubt.
Yeah, obviously that's what you're sharing with us and what you're talking about. Changing the way we talk to ourselves or about ourselves or our experiences, and changing from more of a victim mentality to a personality that's more beneficial for us, more healthy for us. Is that just a practice thing, would you say? Is that strengthening a muscle, would you say? How would someone go from being in this victim mentality, knowing that they want more for themselves, but not quite understanding because they're not mentally there yet, but wanting that and making the shift? Mm-hmm. Where would they begin to do that? Yeah, or how?
This is a beautiful journey that we go on when we're ready. And we're ready when we've had enough and we're not getting any juice out of our stories any longer, where we come to this place where, hang on, I really am sick of suffering. I'm sick of, you know, going from paycheck to paycheck. I'm sick of being alone. Once you decide that you really, really want to change something, that's when you have the impetus to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame that it is like that, isn't it? Because imagine if we just all decided, hey, I'm going to make these changes. It doesn't matter what's happening in my life. I am just going to share the best version of me with the world, and without having to go through, without feeling bad at first. But the first step is inquire into what you're feeling, you know, change what you're feeling, and then you start changing the habit field and the thought process. Again, it's like doing the work. But it is a beautiful voyage of discovery because you're constantly discovering everything about you, like how you work, how you operate, what's been passed down to you from your ancestors, what you've brought in with you from past lives. I mean, who doesn't want to know all about that? That's just so exciting.
I agree. I definitely agree. That's the exciting part I've learned on my journey as well. And I shared with you before the show that we had a mutual acquaintance. In fact, 8-9 years ago, I took a class from her, and she was one of the first people who catapulted me onto my journey that I'm on now, from having my lowest of low, being in a really dark place, and knowing that I could be more and do more. And I think reaching out to people who are in those places to assist you in your journey, or grabbing a book like yours, The Code Breaker, those tools are out there for you and are so easily accessible for you to make those changes.
Exactly. And you know what? When you're ready, the teacher appears. There is no doubt about it. I have so many, hundreds and hundreds of people say to me, wow, I just knew I was ready. I knew I was ready to live a different life. I just didn't know how. And all of a sudden I got an email from somebody talking about your work, or I saw your book, or, you know, something happened where they were brought into the orbit of this beautiful, this what I call a deep spiritual field of information. And when your soul is ready, the teacher, the book, the mentor will appear. And that's when you know you're on the right track. And the most important thing is that you recognize that this is your mentor, and that you are going to invest your time, your resources, and your energy into working with them so that you can become who you want to become. And that's another important point. You know, like, I just put myself in the place where my mentors were, and I just stuck with them. You know, I remember going to one of my beautiful mentor in my hometown, and I would show up on her doorstep at one of my lowest ebbs, and she'd open the door and go, "Oh, not you again, go away." But she would laugh and open the door, and I would come in, right, and we would talk. But the fact was that I was just going to be there. That's all there was to it. And I'm having a little event in my home next week. It's a private event, but I've invited some of the people from who had just done our 3-day event, and they're going, "Yeah, I'm there, I'm in." And it's like, of course you are, because why wouldn't you put yourself in that frequency and you know, live in that arena where you're with like-minded people who are going to help you expand into more of who you are.
Yes, that feels so good. When you know, when you're ready to change, you will do anything to do that. You definitely will. You are listening to Soul Wanderings here on KGRAradio.com. Let's take a quick break, and we'll return shortly to continue our wandering with our guest, Sandra Biskind.
Hi, Matt Ray with America's First News here, and I have great news for those of you who suffer with debilitating migraine headaches, maybe a loved one or your child does. MigraLief, the nutritional migraine supplement everyone's talking about, now can be found at the vitamin shop stores nationwide and Meijer in the Midwest. For almost 2 decades, hundreds of thousands of migraine sufferers have benefited from MigraLief, and thousands of neurologists and headache specialists recommend it. Why is it popular? It's drug-free and addresses the specific nutritional needs of adults and children who suffer migraines. What's even better, MigraLief comes in a formula you can take daily and one on the spot as needed. So if you get migraines, get your life back on track. Go to MIG911.com. That's MIG and the numbers 911.com. That's also where you can read the testimonials. Or head on over to your local vitamin shop store nationwide or Meijer in the Midwest. If you get migraines, do yourself a favor. Change your life with MigraLief.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
So we've got our neighbor Paul coming over tonight for a barbecue, which is why I prepared a delicious lemon rosemary steak marinade from my special collection of old family recipes. To make sure the steaks are extra, extra, extra tender, I left them marinating out on the counter overnight, just like Nana used to.
Maria may mean well, but without food safety, it never ends well. Always thaw or marinate foods in the refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, or you could make your friends and family really sick. Maria's neighbor Paul didn't think twice about the steak he ate until he was presenting his company's financial forecast to the board. That's when a sudden bout of food poisoning made it explicitly clear that profits weren't the only thing on the rise. Watch Recipes for Disaster at foodsafety.gov. You'll learn the right steps as Maria does everything wrong. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Where will you be this September 13th through the 15th if you are a critical thinker seeking answers to questions like, what are aliens? Are they demons or visitors from other worlds? Do they have an agenda? And if so, how do we stop them from interfering in our lives? Then the place you need to be is Branson, Missouri, inside the Mansion Theater as Gen 6 Productions presents The True Legends Answering the Alien Question Conference 2019, featuring writer, explorer, and filmmaker Timothy Alberino, author, lecturer, and filmmaker L.A. Marzulli. Is our planet being prepared for reseeding by non-Earth entities? Find out from publisher Mike Adams, UFO investigator Chase Kletzky, investigative reporter George Knapp, world-renowned researcher and author Steve Quayle, and many more. Reserve your seats or order live streaming now at Gen6.com.
Hi, Matt Ray here with America's First News, and I have a question for you. What do we all have in common, regardless of our age or profession, the busy, the elderly, students? Doesn't matter. What do we all have in common? Stress, right? Stress causes anxiety in our lives, and we are susceptible to memory issues from time to time too. So why not guard against both? Guard against the effects of chronic stress and improve your memory with one supplement, Calm and Clever. Ingredients help enhance memory and retain new information, while other ingredients reduce stress by maintaining healthy levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Sharpen your mind and feel calm and centered. Try Calm and Clever. Go to calmandclever.com. Enter the promo code radio for $5 off. Again, calmandclever.com. Enter the promo code radio for $5 off.
This is Richard Dolan, and I want to brag for just a second about the incredible authors I publish under Richard Dolan Press. Some of the most innovative and well-researched books in the field of UFOs and beyond that you'll find anywhere in the world. Incredible UFO encounters, the cover-up, the experiences by ordinary people, Russian UFOs, psychic phenomena, consciousness, synchronicities, and owls. Yeah, it's all there, and it's all fascinating reading because I would never publish a book that isn't. To learn more, go to richarddolanpress.com.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
are listening to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. And you can find Soul Wanderings here as well as many other platforms such as iTunes, TalkStream Live, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, all of those good things. And make sure that you guys are also following official KGRA Radio on YouTube. And that's where the latest show archives are held. But wherever you guys are joining us from tonight, hello, welcome. We're happy to have you wandering here with us this evening. If you have questions for our guest, we are headed into the second half of our wandering and still have time for you to do so. So make sure you hop into that chat room by going to kgraradio.com/chat. We have been visiting with Sandra Biskind tonight, and she co-authored a book with her husband. I want to say newlywed husband now that you shared that with us. They just celebrated their 20th anniversary together. Congratulations. But they wrote a book together called Codebreaker, Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. So it's all about rewiring your thought patterns, your DNA, to accelerate your ultimate personal evolution. That's good stuff right there.
Wow, that's a great way of saying it too, by the way.
Well, I just take little pieces from what you've written. So you wrote it. You wrote it, girl, and it's beautiful. You shared a little bit in your book about, I shouldn't say a little bit because I haven't read the whole thing yet, but the ego puppy. Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What is the ego puppy?
Okay, well, the key to enlightenment is to lighten up, right? And so these are, when you're on this voyage of discovery about who you are, what's running your show, it can get pretty heavy. And so we're saying, hang on a minute. A lot of New Age people many, many years ago used to say, let's kill the ego. And we're saying, no. The work has evolved so that we go beyond enlightenment into wholeness. And if we're going to be whole, we don't want to have fragmented part of us. That means that we want to train the ego mind to serve us, not the other way around. Because at the moment, for the majority of humanity, the ego mind is certainly not serving us on any level, and it is running our show. So we said, okay, and you can read all of this in the book. In every chapter, there's an ego puppy section. It's like, imagine that when you were born with an ego puppy. Now, if you were just given the most adorable puppy on the planet, and you looked at it and you went, wow, because you know it's you, then you would not let that puppy piddle and poop all over you and run amok and chew up your best shoes and do what puppies do. You wouldn't let it do it for a long time. You would want to train it. And if you can't train it, you would want to get somebody in who can. And that's where this book is like a training system for your ego puppy. And, people love ego puppy because, I have private clients when I'm doing events with them and during the live events and online events, and people go, oh, my ego puppy's so out of control right now. I really need to put it on a tight leash. And it's a fun way of being able to say, okay, I just got triggered. I don't feel good. I lashed out. I had a slip in my magnificence. My ego puppy, did wreck the moment. But I can train it. I can get it back in control. It's okay. And so it's really, ego puppy is just a fun way of saying, yep, we've got this little thing. It's adorable, and we do need to train it.
It's adorable. I don't know how often ego's adorable, but
no. Well, the puppy part,
right? No, I know. I'm just
it's adorable. In that, I say that. Why I say that, don't you? Because the ego is so much a part of who you are. I mean, all of us. And when I see human beings, when I'm with them and working with them, I could almost cry with the joy and the wonder of the perfection of who they are. And that's how I see humanity. And so that's why that word adorable slipped out, because it's really how I feel. It's like, oh, another part of me, there it is,
Yeah. Is training the ego puppy the same type of experience for everyone, or do you feel like it's different for each individual depending on what they're going through.
Yeah, I think truly the training process depends on what programs you have to train out of your system. It's like what you've been exposed to, what's come down through generations of DNA and affecting you. It's what experiences you've had. I mean, there are some basic experiences that are basic to humanity that we all have to train out, but basically your puppy is going to react to and be triggered by what is happening within you, within your unconscious.
Yeah, I figure it would be different for each of us just because of that, definitely. But, when you train a puppy, it's usually the same kind of thing. So I just didn't know.
Well, you know what, AJ? When you train a puppy, who are you really training?
Yourself.
That's right, the mind. Yourself. Yeah. And so that's what this is all about. You're training the puppy, and it is actually really about training the mind.
I really like that analogy. I think it's very relatable for all of us.
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? And then we do bring in Karma. Is it Cosmic Kitten? Where we're saying, okay, listen, we do have a puppy, but guess what? As luck would have it, we have our Cosmic Kitten who kind of balances all of that out. And, that's our connection to Source. That's that part of us that really, has a strong connection to our true self, can live as a platinum being, that part of us that is very wise, has access to divine guidance, and really can give us the guidance that we need in any given moment if we stop to listen for it.
That's the ticker right there, is if we stop and listen.
Well, the ego puppy has us chasing our tail a lot, and we're doing a pattern interrupt for that. That's why we say, look, let's bring Cosmic Kitten in here because she can be a pattern interrupt.
Oh, I just love that. And it's so easy for us to remember when you put him in that way so we can, relate to it on a more personal level.
Exactly. I mean, can you imagine Daniel and I do this. If I say something that might have triggered Daniel and he's feeling uncomfortable about it, and he says to me, gee, that didn't feel good. And I go, wow, I'm so sorry. My ego puppy just was like, I'm going to have to do better. And we laugh. It's also another way in your relationships where you can take responsibility for messing up, for speaking in a tone of voice that doesn't serve a loving relationship, for doing or saying things that don't uplift you and the people around you. So for me, it's lighten up. It's like bring a bit of levity to the situation.
It does have a sense of playfulness to it, so you can also put yourself in a reality check that not everything is so serious.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be so serious all of the time. I really like that. Now, your book also has the Codebreaker Journal. How does journaling your experiences help the work progress?
Look, journaling can be one of the most powerful things that people can do because you're getting out of your head and your heart what you're actually feeling. And when you start to answer the questions in the journal and start journaling from what you're learning in the book, you start to really learn about who you are, how you operate, and where you're at in this moment, which is super important because once you know those things, you can make the necessary adjustments and changes that you want to make. And so a lot of people have used the journal and they've gone back over it after they've read the book once and gone, wow, did I really feel like that? Did I really think like that? And now they can see this measurable shift in how they're thinking and feeling. So the idea of the journal was to be this companion to the book where you read the book over and over and over again and you ended up with, however many journals that it takes so that every time you use it, you actually have this body of work that you can see, hey, I really did think that. I really did feel that. I don't think I can feel that anymore. And you can use that as a measuring stick to your own evolution of your own soul. Mm-hmm. And you can also use it to help other people because you can say, you know what, I know that, I felt that, I was there, and this is what I did, right? And so there are so many ways of helping other people as we help ourselves. And this is beautiful for doing that.
I agree. So you believe in the concept of mirrors? We're each other's mirrors?
Without doubt. Without doubt. I see it all the time, especially with couples and families where we have mirror programs. And when you have that, then you're really going to come up against it. You're really going to have to work hard, because one person will be thinking, I'm not good enough, and the other person will be thinking, oh, no one loves me. And so they're backing away from each other, and because their programs are mirroring each other. And we definitely do have mirroring programs. And really, when you work on yourself, what we've found through the empirical research we've done over decades is that as you begin to evolve into a different kind of being on a different frequency, really aligned to this divine mind code and your true self, the other people in your life tend to make changes too without them even having to do anything. And I know that sounds unfair. It's like, how come I'm doing the work and they get the effort? But this is what happens, and this is the beauty of this work. And it's why when we do a challenge or we do any of the events that we do, we know we're having a positive impact on others, because as we're changing, for instance, one woman, she'd been going through so much trauma with mold in her home, losing everything, enormous pain, and her mother hadn't spoken to her in 5 years since she started going through all of this shit. The mother just said, oh, you're crazy. And then during the last 3-day event that we did, we corrected out all of these programs. And you know what? In one of the lunch breaks, her mother actually rang her for the first time in 5 years, and she was stunned. And it was like the mother sounded different. She was more supportive. And, it was as the more she changed, the more the situation changed, the more the people in that situation changed. Isn't that beautiful, that ripple effect?
I really love stories like that. Where I have my space, I'm able to be around people who are experiencing growth on all different levels. And those are the stories. That's what started this whole entire show platform, was the stories. I really could eat those stories up for every single meal, every single day. Well, I can't get enough of them.
Stories, isn't it? We're hardwired to stories. That's how we used to communicate and pass information down the line, by stories.
Yeah. Do you have any other experiences that stand out to you that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. Maybe I will give you one of the stories in the book is called Love in the Shower. And throughout the book, by the way, one of the other reasons why you will want to get it and read it, there are some really, really interesting and fun stories and about our journey and how it's affected other people and how we came to be doing what we're doing. And when I first met Daniel, I was told that I was going to marry him before I met him. And on our very first date, we agreed that we were married as of that moment. And so it was really a divinely arranged marriage. And a lot of very interesting things happened. And one of them is in the book called Love in the Shower. And it's where I was in the shower, I turned the water on, and the minute the water hit me, I actually went into a whole other space. And I actually was having a full enlightened experience where the water was me, I was the water, there was no separation, and I was just sobbing in love. I was just divine. I was the divine. It was like I was one with God and Source in that moment. And it was such an exceptional experience. My nose was running, my eyes were running. It was phenomenal, and it's very hard to explain it. And I don't even know how my hand turned the tap off, because there was no hand, there was no tap, there was nothing, it was just all love. And but I did turn the tap off, and I stepped out of the shower, and as I did, Daniel, my brand new husband, who had been like over 100 yards away up at the other end of the house, walked in and just fell at my feet sobbing and put his arms around my waist and his head on my stomach. And he said, I was in my office and these waves of love just started coming over me and transported me into this incredible place. And I just followed these waves of love, and it was me, it was coming from me. And we realized we lived in an apartment building. We were on the bottom, and I'm thinking, whoa, every single person in that apartment building was getting those waves of love. And it was really a phenomenal experience. And who doesn't want to have an experience where you know you are one with love, and there is nothing other than that love, and other people are being affected by it. It was a beautiful, it was a lovely confirmation that we were on the right track being together.
That just feels warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Like one of those energy hugs that you just get, that it's the truth and that it is just all consuming.
Yeah, and it really, that was the right word. It was all consuming in that moment. And this is, again, one of the reasons why we do this work. We're saying, look, you don't have to have these shocking experiences. You don't have to sit in a cave or on a mountaintop and meditate for 40 years. You don't have to get run over by a truck to actually finally come to this place where you understand that you are a perfect divine spiritual being, and you're going to expand that. You can actually read these books, you can listen to your show, you can, be on this wavelength where you circumvent all of those things, and you come to a place where you start to have those experiences instead of the other ones. I think your listeners would probably love this story about money, because, money is it's a trigger for everybody, right?
So they say, yes.
So they say.
I have an amazing relationship with abundance. So.
Beautiful. So, the people who still have those unconscious programs around money and abundance, when we do our live events, one of the things that we do is, of course, we focus on the unconscious ideas and stories around money and lack of money. And I remember one man, he got up the front and I was correcting him, and we really honed in on some really incredible stuff that he didn't even know was there. And it was like, oh, it's such a shock to him. And he went to lunch, and when he came back from lunch, he said, this cannot be real. He said, I just went to lunch and I got 2 firm offers for 2 multi-million-dollar homes that I've had on the market forever that I didn't think I was going to sell. And he said, how could that happen that quickly? And everybody in the room laughed, because they knew that the moment we cleared out that those ideas that were stopping abundance flowing to him, that was actually, these weird ideas about money, that he was now free to, and became a magnet to what he really wanted. And it was just beautiful. It was like, people were just like, wow, really? I think that there are so many stories if you think about the thousands of people around the world. And, Jack Canfield loves this work so much. He said to me a year ago, he said, look, I really want this book. I want this book of these stories, because there's such great stories, and it's going to help people understand that their unconscious is really running their business, and this is how you get clear of it, and this is what happens when you do. So I've been collecting these stories from my clients, and I've got, like 100 of them, and I think that'll satisfy Jack. And we might do this soul wandering book, right? Discover your soul signature, or we've got to come up with a really wonderful name for it, where you go in and you get to have a story about somebody else's money book, which, as we know, when you clear one person, you're clearing everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, when you read the story, you're sitting in that frequency, and that frequency is being cleared out for you too.
Yes. That feels so good. How has assisting all of these humans the way that you and your husband do change and affected your life personally?
In such a phenomenal, amazing way. Can you imagine that every time I work with a client, either one-on-one or in a group, even online, I am getting those corrections. And more importantly, what's happening for me is that I'm getting this divine guidance that's moving and expanding the information every time I work with someone. So what you would get in a 3-day event with me now was very different from what we got a year ago, and it's going to be very different from what we get at the next one. Mm-hmm. So what's happening for us, we're on this accelerated evolutionary path, where we're getting clearer and clearer and clearer, and we're tapping into more and more information. And the more we're opening up to the information, the deeper it's getting, and the more profound changes we can affect in people. And so that's what's been, I mean, can you imagine how exciting that is? From one moment to the next, it's like, oh, did you hear that? Oh, did you feel that? You know, it's constantly saying that to each other.
Yeah, and it's really neat that you have a life partner you're able to share those experiences with, and you're doing the work together.
Truly. I mean, a lot of people say to me, oh, I'm okay on my own. I don't need a partner. I'm not lonely. I'm not this, I'm not that. But, you know, that's the ego talking, because all of us on some level are really hungering for more love. Now, it might not necessarily have to be a life partner. It could be many partners. It could be a deep and abiding connection to siblings, or even to a pet. But the fact is that we are love, and as love, love creates more love. Love is the source of miracles. I mean, love is everything. And so when you have more love around you, you start to feel more content, you're happier and healthier. So when you hear the ego mind say, oh, no, I don't need that, you're almost saying, oh, no, I don't need love, which, as we all know, is not true.
And do you feel that by saying that they're actually pushing away the opportunities for those connections?
Absolutely. And you know, when they work with us, they begin to realize that. And so now they open themselves up to more love in whatever form that comes in. And it could come in the form of a kitten or a puppy, like a real one. It could come in the form of a beautiful friendship, and it could very well come in as, you know, meeting your soulmate, or meeting a partner that you can love and share your life with.
Yeah. So manifest it, people. Don't send that love away. It really is. I'm sure people get sick of me always saying here and around me, love is the answer. What would love say when they're asking me questions? And that's my response to them.
Yeah, just keep saying it, because that's the 100% truth. That's all they need to hear. Whatever the question is, love is the answer.
Yeah, love is the answer. What would love say? It, you know, and a lot of people don't understand it yet, but I feel like the more you ask them those questions, one day it's going to click, and that they'll actually get it.
Yeah. And they will get it, because imagine that love is who they are. So something is going to happen where they're going to understand, oh, so this is what it is, right? And you know what? It could be simply reading that Love in the Shower story in Codebreaker. It could be reading any story in any book that really triggers off this, oh, I get it.
Hold on, that aha moment is coming your way. We are going to take our last break for the evening, and we'll return to share just a little more time with our guest, Sandra Biskind. We'll be right back.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Feeling sluggish? Bloated, gassy, and, well, you know, want some relief? Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Our unique blend of all natural herbs go to work on your digestive tract, giving you So before you try our super strength formula. It does a great job removing intruders that jack you up. Thousands of people use Life Change Tea every month, so try it because you're gonna love the way you feel. And here's a little pick-me-up. Order now and receive 10% off your first order by entering in 10 today in the coupon code. That's 10 today in the coupon code. Go to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Enter 10 today in the coupon code for your 10% discount. Wow, feeling good never felt so good. Get some tea love at getthetea.com. Changing America one tea bag at a time.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is Richard Dolan announcing a new exclusive content website, richarddolanmembers.com. I've been working on this for a long time. Unique weekly podcasts that you won't hear anywhere else, fresh articles and blog posts, a special video series entitled Off the Cuff with Richard Dolan, regular Ask Me Anything style live chat sessions, and more. This is a full-featured member site where you will get my insights, my updates, and be able to interact directly with me. To learn more, go to richarddolanmembers.com.
Your official contact for the best alternative talk on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings on KGRAradio.com. I'm AJ Rasmussen, your host, and our guest this evening is Sandra Biskind. Welcome back to the show, darling.
Thank you. It's so fantastic to be here with you.
Wonderful. Well, we just have, I don't know, like 20 minutes or so left. And I really want to emphasize to everyone the importance that this book can make in your experience, no matter what level you're on. It can assist you. It's called The Code Breaker, Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. How long did this book take you and your husband to create?
Well,
it's a lot of information.
Yes, it was 5 years. Now, it was 6 weeks to download it, like actually bring it in. Mm-hmm. But it was 5 years to put it into a way that was going to be really accessible for people, understandable for people. We actually had an ex-CIA code breaker, a real one, help us with the book, which was really quite phenomenal. And what we did was we started working with our private clients and our live and online live events using the system to research what happens when people use the inquiry, what happens when people actually start living a platinum life, which is the password to unlock the best version of you. And we realized that we really had cracked the code. the love code and the code to enlightenment and to end suffering. And so it was really 5 years of a lot of research. It took a lot. We edited it. I'll never forget saying to Jack, "Oh, we've finished the book." He said, "Have you read it out loud yet?" And we just looked at each other and went, "Oh, no." So we actually then started to read it out loud. We read it out loud like 60 times. We were pedantic because, look, with this book, we understood it had to be like a high-frequency talisman. In other words, even if you didn't read it, you could be affected by it. So the design of the cover, the colours, the interior of the book, the images that we've chosen, the font that we chose, the colour and weight of the paper that we chose, all had to be like exact so that you would have a high-frequency talisman in your hand. And that's what we've ended up with. Like, I've got friends who travel with the book because they just like having it under their pillow. They want that frequency. And I don't know that they've even read it yet, but they love what the book stands for and what it is. So it was many, many years. I say it's decades in the making, 5 years in the writing and the research of it. And now we have this beautiful legacy work that we've given to the world, and we're saying, here, be your own guru, be your own master, train the mind, do the work, and live the life that you have come here to experience.
Mm. So what type of person is your ideal reader or client to one of your gatherings?
Yeah, we work a lot with entrepreneurs, coaches, transformational leaders, people who really want to create an impact in the world, and people who know that being curious, that expanding their mind, opening their heart is as important to them as anything else that they can do. Mm-hmm. And so really people who have an awareness that their spiritual life is responsible for their success or not, which that's a big deal to understand that, to know that to be the truth. Mm-hmm. So that's the type of person that wants the book. It's the type of person that we work with. If you think that Jack Canfield and Doria Cordova and a whole heap of other people hire us to work with their students because they've got success principles and they've got systems and business systems that they teach their students. But they say is, hey, we can teach you these systems, but if you're not getting clear of the unconscious, then the systems are not going to do anything for you. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at a lot of their students, they're these incredible people who just want to get to the next level. So they're the people that we work with, that we know this book is for.
Do you feel like there is an awakening happening here in our human experience right now? I hear several people saying we're going from third dimensional on. Do you feel like that's the case?
I feel there's a huge awakening that is happening, and that's why the world appears to be in so much turmoil, because as the awakening happens, it's like there's chaos, right? And the more people who are waking up, the more the energy is changing, the more there's a bit of a backlash from the ego mind area. So, more people are waking up. I mean, that's why we live by divine guidance, and we were told that we had to move to America, to the USA, to Los Angeles, and I'm going, no, give me somewhere else. And it was like, no, this is where you're needed. This is where it is. And we got here, and we realized that we had landed smack bang in the middle of the transformational heart of the world. Mm-hmm. And, within minutes of meeting Jack, he said to us, oh, I know you, I want to work with you, I want you to be a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, and here we are in a brand new country, and now we're playing with some of the top best-selling authors and success coaches and spiritual mentors in the world. And it was like, oh, okay, God, thank you. It was like, yep, you gave us each other, now you're giving us our soul tribe, and you've put us here so that we can have the biggest impact in the world that we can possibly have. And, so the States is a very interesting place at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I know I kind of shifted gears from your, your clientele, your ideal clientele, to the dimensional thing, but it really is a thing that's going on right now. You can feel it energetically, but you also see the kind of the chaos or all of the things that are going on in this world. Not everyone quite knows what to do with this energy, this shifting that's occurring.
Yeah, and that's why it's more important than ever to read books like Codebreaker, to use a journal, to, find your mentor, glue yourself to them, because that's going to be your safe haven.
Yeah, most definitely. I do have a question from the chat room. Libertas was wondering, how do you define spirituality?
Yeah. So spirituality to me is where you understand that you are not just a human being, that you are a divine being, that you are one with Source, that you have a spirit, and that spirit is actually what is creating, that spiritual energy, your soul, is what is giving life to the body. So that you're here, you're having an experience where you're learning and you're growing and hopefully having fun. And everything spiritual is everything about your inner world. It's not about material outer things. So it's about what's important to you. It's about what you're feeling. It's about what you're thinking. It's about you creating a strong connection to your own true self, which is that divinity within you. So living a spiritual life is about understanding that you are one with Source. And boy, when you understand that, there's a cushion of safety, joy, and love that is just so beautiful and so necessary.
Right. You are infinite and limitless. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't kill this energy, as energetic beings. We can't be killed. We live on. We're infinite. And so therefore, in the big picture, all of these funny little tiny things that we become attached to, when you understand that, it's like, oh, really? Why am I attached to that story? In the big picture, it means nothing. The only thing that means anything is that you love.
I have a direct message sent to me with a question about fear. They're just wondering, they have a lot of fears. Obviously, those are our conditioning and probably triggers, which we've gone over, but they're wondering how they can overcome their fears, like fears of being in large groups and fears of talking to new people and things of that nature, because they get anxiety and things like that.
Okay, so that's, just as I'm tapping in to that question, that's definitely coming from past lives where these people actually have been speakers, where they have been powerful, where they have been shut down, and it's been very dangerous in a crowd. It's been very dangerous to speak up. And so they've made decisions that have said, oh no, it is dangerous to speak up. It's dangerous to be in a crowd. I'm not safe. So these programs that are running make it so that rather than stepping out in love and trust, they're stepping out in fear. So why don't we just do this right now? Why don't we go into the system of anybody who's actually feeling that fear of being in a large crowd, feeling the fear of opening up to strangers, and let's completely neutralize and delete out of your systems on every single level, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, psychic and psychological, the beliefs, programs and ideas that it is not safe for you to be seen, to be heard, to be in a crowd, that strangers are not safe, that, that's it. Let's give you a correction, be 100% infinite potential to be corrected, to be strong, to know the truth, that you can trust that as a perfect divine being, you are safe on every level to be seen and to be heard in this lifetime now. So let's neutralize and delete karma, habitual thinking, and put a forgiveness template in where you forgive yourself for writing that script and putting in that fear and handing it to everyone else who's hurt you in the past and triggered off that fear and those programs. Oh, released. Okay, how's that feeling?
It feels really good to me.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a thank you from the person who asked the question.
Yeah.
That was just being here, experiencing that as you did that, and it wasn't even directly for me. I had a wave of chills and goosebumps come over my entire body.
Yeah. And that's it. That's why I say to you that when I do a correction for one person, it is for everyone. Because on some level, if we're spiritual beings and we've all done everything, then on some level you have had an experience like that we just corrected out of your system, which is really beautiful. And I hope that person that we just corrected, I can feel there's a lightness of being. I want to roll my shoulders back and say, wow, I'm free. It's okay. I'm safe. So they're going to have a much different experience of life now.
Yeah, to the person who asked that question, I'd be interested to see what your experiences in public or around new people are going forward. So write me on soulwanderings111@gmail.com. I would love to hear about that because I know how it made me feel. Now I'm interested to see how my experiences change going into a large group. I don't personally have anxiety in huge, large groups like that, but there is a level of energy that does shift when you go around that many people.
Yeah. And just think that during the challenge that we're doing at the end of October, I'm going to be giving corrections during that challenge where they might not be to a particular person, but I'll be tapping in to see what the group challenges are and correcting them. And so people will be making massive shifts at that time. Isn't it exciting that this technology is available to us? But doesn't it make sense if we're energy beings, then it's energy that is going to heal us?
And we're all connected. So it does make sense that each one of us is affected.
Exactly.
Oh, that feels so good. So not only do you do these large groups and you've co-written this book with your love, you also do one-on-one coaching sessions and things of that nature. Do you do those long distance by chance?
All of them are over the phone. I mean, very rarely someone will come into our home, and obviously being in the home is wonderful. That would be for a half day or a full day. But I work with people all over the world over the phone, and I actually love it because I'm not being distracted by their facial expressions or anything like that. I can just stay very focused because when I'm working with you, and you'll see this if you ever work with me in a group, like at one of our live events, I actually have your lifetimes appear to me. So I see them with my spiritual eyes and I see what they're dressed in. I see they talk to me, they give me information, and they tell me the events, emotions, and decisions that you made in that moment that are still affecting you now. And we actually heal them at the same time that we heal you. So again, this is about wholeness. It's about this multidimensional healing where every aspect of who you are and who you have been is healed at the same time. And it's quite phenomenal. We're about to start in 2020. We're going to we have created a coaching program, a 12-month coaching program where we are going to teach people to do what we do. So I know how exciting.
That's exciting.
Very. Well, we need to make ourselves redundant, right? We want to have Codebreaker Coach certified coaches out there who can do the work that you just heard me do and more, and then eventually have the teachers that they can teach the live events the way we do so that we can hand this over to the world. Can you imagine how it's going to expand when you get all these beautiful Codebreaker coaches around who are actually, you can be in this, even if you don't want to be a coach, you would be in this just to transform your life, like being immersed in the energy for 12 months. Mm-hmm. But at the end of that time, you have the ability to not only change your own life, but the lives of your family, your friends, your clients, in a deep and meaningful way that no one else on the planet is doing. And for us, it's like if it really is our legacy work, then we have to hand it over. We can't hold on to it.
Right. And I love that you brought this up because that was a question I was curious about if others are able to learn what you do. Mm-hmm. What does a typical session look like with you if someone were interested in reaching out?
A private session is usually an hour. And in an hour we get now, it used to be having to be 3 hours, but everything's, accelerated and become so fast that right now in an hour we clear the major issues that are upsetting you in the moment. And so that really is like just setting you free from that. It's a conference call. If people are interested in that, they could email me at info@thebiskinds.com. This is an expensive exercise, doing one-on-one coaching with me, because it has taken me, 6 decades to come to where I am. And so this is thousands of dollars. And that's why we created the book and the journal, why we do live events, and why we are doing free challenges, so that we can actually have an inexpensive way of working with us as well. I mean, the people who become my coaching clients on that level, they are really dedicated to living exactly the life that they want to live. And they know that they need to do this work to get there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I imagine that the people who are your clients are at the point where they're ready to drastically change their experiences and know that they're worth every energy exchange with you in order to do so.
That's exactly right. And then when the people, when you come to these live events that we do and do our online courses and everything that we have that is free, and of course start with the books, because that's a $27 investment, or whatever it is, whatever Amazon's selling it for on the day. And, it's just so easy to work with us on so many levels.
Plus, imagine all of the people you're reaching on this platform versus the one-on-one, because you only have so much time in a day, but this book is out there for the world to grab at any moment.
Well, and that's exactly right. Obviously, that was one of the driving forces for us in spending 5 years of our life actually creating this body of work. It was like, hang on, there's only one of me. How many hours can I do? And quite frankly, when I'm working with clients one-on-one, it takes a lot out of me, because I am working on a multidimensional level in a 3-dimensional body. So, that's not as easy as it sounds, although I make it look easy because I've been doing it for so long. Whereas when I'm in a live event and we've got a beautiful group, we do a live event in our home that's only 8 to 10 people, and then we do live events that are only 20 to 30 people, which is not a lot, but they're the people who are dedicated. They're the people who know that they're going to spend that 12 months with me as their mentor, with Daniel and me as their mentors. And I don't know, it's very exciting. I can't wipe the smile off my face when I'm talking about this work.
I can feel that.
Yeah, you're asking such great questions, and you've got such a high frequency yourself. And what I love about the show is that right at this moment that people are listening, they're getting that frequency shift. Mm-hmm. And so when you say about the book, well, it's happening right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the energy is here. So you gave out your email address. What are some other ways that our listeners can be in touch with you if they had any further questions, if they were interested in participating in your success principles in October, or whatever other reason?
The best place to go to is The Biskinds. That's our name, TheBiskinds, thebiskinds.com. If you go, just troll through that, our online home, you'll see information about us. Go to the events page, go to the products page. There's free products there. There's so many ways of working with us at the moment. We've got a 3-day event coming up in Melbourne in October, the free 5-day challenge in October. We've got an event in our own home in November, and 2020 is the brand new coaching certification program. Now, not all of that, the coaching certification and the frequency challenge isn't up on the website yet. We've just created both of them, but they will be next week. So again, if you want to email me at info@thebiskinds.com, I'll send you the links to the challenge so that you come in and share that with all your family and friends.
Wonderful. It has been such a joy and such an honor to have you here, Soul Wandering, with us this evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, AJ. It's just been an honor to be with you and your listeners. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Next week on Soul Wanderings, we are visiting with Melinda J. Kelly, who, after encountering her own crisis of direction, led her to a personal journey of questions, which then led her to write her book, Finding Your Coach, Diving Deep Within. So we'll be hearing about her and her journey next week, as well as discussing her book. So I hope to have you wandering with us once again next week for another live show. Soul Wanderings can be found on all the main social media platforms, as well as soulwanderings.com. And of course, as always, I want to give a big shout out to KGRA Radio and family. You guys follow all of everything that's going on KGRA. There's so many big changes on the horizon. Share with your friends and family, and let's continue to keep having these conversations that bring awareness and awakening and movement into our human experiences. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight, and have a happy day.